call this meeting of the North Liberty Board of Trustees, North Liberty Library Board of Trustees, to order. Item number 1, additions and changes to the agenda. We need to make an addition to the agenda following the public comment section for our staff introduction, which will be Andrew, our collection development librarian. So there is that as an addition. Item 2 on our agenda is public comment. Seeing no one in the gallery, we will move on to item 2A. Mr. Frisbee, please.
That's me.
Hello, everyone. Just get my presentation pulled up here.
This is slick. Look how fast that comes up.
Andrew, while you're getting set up, your data is always so great. Every month.
Thank you.
I appreciate all of your stats and the materials.
So yeah, I mean, normally I do come to this with like more like robust stats, but we decided. I think I was sort of colored just sort of by seeing what my colleagues were doing for you all over their last couple of visits. So I kind of just went through a broad strokes, like what I do, which kind of boils down to, do you remember 8th grade science when you learned about the water cycle? I did the book cycle. So sort of like this perpetual cycle of, you know, how our books come into the library, and kind of, you know, how I do what I do. So let me just refer to my notes here. Alrighty. So the first, actually, I'm going to go back one. You'll sort of notice, so we start at reviews at 1, and then we go into the ordering, processing, cataloging, and the circulation, and then weeding when we're done with it. So steps 1 and 6 are probably the most time intensive, because that's where I'm looking at reviews of stuff and then looking at long-term circulation, like how this item fits in with everything else for whether or not we're going to weed it or replace it with something new. So steps 1 and 6 are the most time intensive. So overall, like the decision-making process, I rely on a lot of reviews from different like book outlets. Booklist is a big one. Kirkus reviews. I like Booklist because they kindly break everything down into nice like nonfiction categories, or even into the genres. The reviews will sometimes also tell me how many the publisher is actually putting out as like a first edition, which is usually kind of an indication of how strongly the publisher thinks it's going to do, and potentially how much people are going to want it, like how many questions we're going to have about it. So I do sometimes look at, oh, this is getting 1 million. We should probably get a couple copies of this. So those first 2 images are just like review sources, and then the third one from the left there is kind of the link to our request form on our website. We'll get requests for new materials or interlibrary loans. It's always an interesting patron education experience. There's a lot of folks who are publishing their own stuff and are very good at hawking their stuff on TikTok. That does not mean that our vendors have easy access to those materials. Certainly not on Overdrive. There's probably not an audiobook. And a lot of times these self-published or independently published stuff are print on demand. So we kind of get the item, from Amazon as and it's almost single use. Like they're not made very well. But it's sometimes hard to convey that to patrons as to, well, my TikTok algorithm says everyone is reading this book, which may be the case, but it's hard for libraries to get it. So just letting folks know why sometimes stuff takes a little bit longer to get to us. And then I also get a lot of emails from bookstores, Barnes & Noble, Prairie Lights, Books A Million. And that just kind of gives me an idea of what the bookstores are pushing. And so again, I kind of have an idea of, I bet people are going to start asking about this book. So yeah, I kind of rely on all of that stuff to sort of, get titles up in front of me. Okay.
You mentioned audiobooks. Do we have that much input in what the Overdrive, our local cooperative, have?
So yeah, we are, we do. Well, I do. So we share the Overdrive collection with Iowa City and Coralville. We all, as opposed to all of our funds going to a collective single source and then like one person or maybe a body of people, kind of like the larger statewide consortiums, making the decisions for everyone. I can make purchasing decisions for Overdrive for us. So if people request that we get something for Overdrive, if it's possible, I will definitely do it. Iowa City does do the lion's share of the purchasing there, which is very fortunate for us. But they definitely hit like the large adult like fiction, mystery, and like nonfiction titles. They're just less. Once that portion of the pie is sort of eaten up, there's less space in Iowa City's budget for, say, like teen materials, romance. They sometimes miss. So that's where I come in. I feel partly because we have patrons who are requesting romances and teen titles that aren't already in the collection. And then we also purchase additional copies. Again, it's a lot of patron education, because a lot of folks just assume, hey, it's digital, it's not scarce, there's no reason that everyone can't be using it all at the same time, which unfortunately is not the case. Hello. So we basically buy licenses for our patrons to use. So there are still hold lists, all that kind of fun stuff. But yes, we do have the ability to make our decisions into the Digital Johnson County Collective.
So to add a little bit to that, it's done on a formula based on population, how much money we're required or have agreed to spend each year on ebooks and e-audios, and we've been beefing that up. I beefed that budget number up quite a bit past that because Iowa City does do a lot of it, and we want to make sure that we're pulling our own weight and contributing. So we have a pretty substantial amount of money encumbered into Overdrive where we can do some of that multiple titles and more obscure titles and things to kind of help. And
the publishers are getting a little more flexible. So there was a stretch, kind of funnily enough, late 2019, early 2020, that the publishers were going to limit what libraries could get. We would only get one copy for the first 6 months, and that would be a permanent, like 1 copy, 1 user license. And then after that 6 months was up, we could purchase like a 2-year license, essentially. They quickly backed off from that come March 2020. And that's not really circled back, but what they have started doing is kind of a cost per circ model, which can snowball really, really quick. But what Iowa City has suggested, and what we've started doing very, very lightly, is, let's say a patron wants a book that we really think they are probably the only person that's really going to have, the cause to read this title. It's, $150 on Overdrive, or we could pay $2.99 per circulation. So we could just turn that on, tell the patron, hey, you've got a 48-hour window to check it out. If 20 other people check it out in that time, that's fine. We're still paying for it. But then we know that sort of like the one hold has been filled. Iowa City is experimenting with that some, just as a means of helping stretch digital dollars as much as we can. So in addition to just like reviews and sort of the fluffier descriptions, helping me make decisions, we also have several like statistical models that help with decision making as well. So I've been in the collection position for almost like 9 years now. It'll be 10 next year, I think.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Pretty much from the beginning, there is a gentleman, his name's Roy. He worked at the Ames Public Library. He worked at the State Library for a while, and now he's just sort of retired, but still like interested in library statistics. So he's working with us and the Independence Public Library. He sort of developed this statistical model when he was at Ames, before all of it was digitized and everything like could be put on spreadsheets nice and neat. He was doing everything by hand. But basically, we have a formula that based on how many times, and so in this instance here, that bottom row is Patricia Cornwell's title from 2023, A Natural Death. And based on how many times. So I run a monthly report, the 16th of every month. So I did it this morning, which he just calls it a snapshot. It is a current state of everything in the collection. So whether it's lost, in, out, missing, or claims, like the patron, I returned that. So they claim they returned it. And like from that, and then based on how the overall collection is circulating, which I run at the end of every month, the monthly circulations statistics, we can figure out like how many copies of the book, like what our local demand for it is. So in the Cornwell case here, we purchased 4 copies. You can see that highlighted. But if we had copies that would meet a 68% demand, so there would be a 68% chance that if a patron came in looking for that book, it recommends that we would purchase 1.9 copies. So we round that up to 2. So our demand probably would have been met with 2, but it circulated really well. At that, Patricia Cornwell and Michael Conley, some of those high demand, like mystery and adult fiction authors, we'll get multiple copies of. And this spreadsheet kind of helps me decide which to get multiple copies of, or even, hey, you know what? The last couple of Patricia Cornwells, they didn't really circulate. So maybe we'll, stop getting those. I'm able to use these to help make those decisions. And because of how we have our like our nonfiction labeled, I'm also able to go through all of the nonfiction. So I may not necessarily, he does not have it coded by like subject heading, but I'm able to sort of get to subject headings based on authors or even just the call numbers. Sorry, I made notes to myself and I just want to make sure I said everything. Okay, perfect. And then also from that data that I get from Roy, we also have targets for each collection to add each year. So in this particular case, whoops, sorry, folks. So like the biography, we are targeting 100 total new biographies each year, shooting for 8 a month. That sounds right. So again, all of this took a fair amount of time. He wanted at least 3 years of like data before we could really start making predictions like this. And then of course, we kind of had a big crater of usage in the library. So we kind of started from scratch. So we're kind of back to having usable data from all of this, which is all helpful in making decisions in terms of what we're purchasing.
And these are physical circulation purchasing?
Correct. Yes. We have not been able to figure out a way to do anything with the digital stuff because broad strokes we can see, like I'm able to see what our North Liberty residents check out each month, but once you get down to the individual like items, like how much that Patricia Cornwall, how many are digital copies checked out, we're not able to parse out Iowa City from Coralville and us in terms of like for how frequently stuff is available. So yes, right now this is all just for physical items on the shelf. So then I do the actual order. I currently I'm already looking at, because I've started getting emails for, hey, these are the big fall releases, which seems really premature. But I basically have monthly carts through the end of the year. Like, hey, there's a new book by, Patterson has 3 books every month. But, just having an idea of what's coming out when. And then I submit orders mostly weekly. We order between 60 and 70 books per week. The city has any purchase over $1,000 needs to be okayed by city administration, and we're supposed to get 3 bids. So I just do smaller orders of like $990. But I do keep crazy, like I have beautiful spreadsheets on all of my spending. So for the most part, I get stuff ordered usually 3 weeks in advance. So we have books to us before they're actually released. Our vendor is called Baker & Taylor. This is just a screenshot. I just zoomed in a little bit. But you can see that delayed delivery there. They have gotten into a little bit of a spat with some of the publishers that are basically not getting the books that Baker & Taylor needs to send to us to Baker & Taylor. There are librarians who know exactly which publishers it is. Some folks have gone to different vendors, but all of the vendors kind of end up being problematic in some way. So, because like our another option that we had is Ingram, but they have like a minimum threshold before they ship. So we're sticking with Baker and Taylor for now. We probably won't have this book on the day of release. We'll have it probably 10 days after. Again, because Amazon is sort of spreading this false narrative that, well, it's not really false. The statistical narrative that libraries are, 10% of purchases, but 40% of reads. That's why stuff like this happens. Publishers stop, getting their books to us as quickly as possible, hoping that people will buy their own copies while waiting for the library's copy. So then after they get ordered and they arrive to us, which after ordering, like I said, about a week before they get to us, in the time I've been at the library, we have gone through multiple processes. Originally, the jackets were done by volunteer and library staff with Mylar. And then we switched to laminating. And because it's going to go so much faster. It's going to go so much faster. You still have to trim and tape all the laminated stuff. It takes just as much time. And then we went to, it's called Colibri. It's like a pre-printed or pre-made pocket that would heat seal around the book, which worked great. They didn't wear very well. And there were some folks who were just really intimidated by the machine, I think. So we are now, Baker and Taylor, our vendor, is doing the jacket processing for us. So we are back to Mylar, but we're having our vendor do it for us. So this is a book that we got a week or two ago. Actually, it's been longer because I got this set up a while ago. We just add the barcode and the spine label because of the colors in our genre labeling and even just our BISAC nonfiction headings. It would be really hard for Baker and Taylor to do our spine labels for us. So I think at this point, this is probably the most they will do. We'll continue to make our own spine labels and put our own barcodes on. But it's worked out really well. We're getting through stuff a lot faster than when we were waiting for part-time staff to do all the jacketing too. Any notes I missed there? And then it gets entered into the catalog. So this is a MARC record. Has all of the fun information that all the metadata and everything that we need to know about the book. I do go through and look at all the subject headings and add some, or occasionally take some out that maybe just don't match, or there are 20 different genre listings for mysteries. There's mystery fiction, mystery and detective fiction, detective and mystery fiction. So my chosen genre for mystery is detective and mystery fiction. So I kind of just always make sure that's in every mystery book, and I take out the whichever alternate might be in there, just so that we have uniformity across all of the genres. And then this step usually takes a little bit longer because we kind of have to let the book go out into the wild and see how it does. So this is all of the circulation, basically kind of since I took over the position. So yeah, actually that is nearly 10 years. So you can see the big dip where COVID was. But you can even nicely see all of these spikes here. Those are summers, and the orange line there is juvenile, which makes sense because kids are out of school and reading a lot. And then after it's circulated, then it's time to make decisions again in terms of are we going to keep it? Are we going to reorder it? Are we going to get something different? Just like we have targets for how many ads that I have for each collection, we also have targets for how many weeds we have for each collection. We're very much at a sort of steady state situation. We don't really have the shelf space to add much more. So pretty much everything, every time a book comes in, a book comes out. So yeah, usually about 400 items per, each month get added, and hopefully 400 get deleted each month as well. So yes, I know that was fast and a little all over the place, but does anyone have any questions?
That was a really helpful overview. Thank you for walking us through all that.
Oh, sure. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank
That was
you.
great.
Oh,
very
you
much.
are welcome. Let me just safely remove.
And you thought all we did was read.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. If you ever have questions, you know where to reach me.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. All right. On to item number 3, approval of the minutes of May. Do we have the quorum we need to approve those minutes? Any observation, comments on the May minutes? Alterations that need to be made? Nope.
I didn't see any.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for May?
Motion to approve?
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Hearing no nays, the minutes for May are approved. Moving on to item number 4, the director reports.
All right. So we'll start with the budget. We are actually a little bit, it looks like we're a little low right now, 87% out of 92% for the average, but I would say that we're going to be really well on track to spend. We've submitted like for 24,000 to go into our ebook encumbrance so that we can make sure we start the year off with a good amount for ebooks. So we are kind of back heavy on that and on our movies canopy and the streaming service for that, and then our audio, e-audio. So we've spent some of those funds. We also, not on this report, is that I have been speaking with our community relations department, and the director there is working on an entire website revamp for the city, which includes a very large website redesign of the library, which is not cheap. I was a little sticker shocked. We just talked about it this morning, but it will all be fine. We're going to get quite a bit of it paid for out of this end of this budget year so that we can make sure that we don't have a huge amount of it left next year because it's not written into our budget. But we've been talking about this for a couple of months, and I told him I would be on board to work through that with him. So we are working on that. And then I just included the link to the 26 budget report so you could see what that looked like, which was adopted by the council this past month. So our FY26 budget is almost 1.6 million, 1.563, and that's broken down into our personnel and our commodities. As I think I've mentioned, I did try to keep a pretty flat budget as far as commodities went, knowing that the cities are feeling a little hurt from the state level. So but we'll be fine. We have plenty for what we need, and I think we've, like with Andrew working with our partners at the other libraries and things, that really helps a lot as well. Legislative update.
Before we jump onto that, on the budget then, so in the upcoming budget for next year, was the library website expenditure built into that upcoming budget, or
No.
will it be unexpected for both
It
fiscal
will be
years?
unexpected for both fiscal years.
What's
but,
the amount for each fiscal year,
well,
like
it's-
roughly?
The total for the library only is $17,000. So Nick's been working with our city administration about where those funds will come from, and he thinks we've got it pretty well covered.
Okay.
We'll be able to smooth it out. And we have a pretty good computer and technology budget, which is where most of that will come from this year. And Chris has our city IT person has it pretty rounded out for what our IT needs are throughout the year. So between that budget line and just extra funds in different budget lines, we'll make it work. So, but we're each putting in 8,000 this year, so I'll have an additional 9,000 next year to expend. But Nick's, like I said, has been working with our city admin to make sure that we have those funds. And then legislative update, House File 856 that we knew was looming did get signed by the governor on May 27th, and that, unlike many that don't take effect until July, that one is effective immediately. That meant that we needed to work on some revisions to some of our documents just to be in compliance. And I have included 3 of those so far in this packet. I still need to work through other things, but I think for now, the strategic plan, the commitment to access and belonging, which is formally the statement of inclusivity, and our vision statement are all included here. The policy work, I'll just begin to work through those. And probably just revise over the next few months and bring them to you as a whole with just those revisions as far as just to make sure that we're in compliance. And I worked with Grant, our city attorney, to make the changes. I wrote them, sent them to him. He gave me a little feedback on one and let me loose in the wild with them. So they have worked with us quite a bit. Grant has worked with us quite a bit just to make sure that when we're doing our different programming, for instance, our Teen Pride program, that we were also in compliance there. As you probably all saw this last weekend, we did have Let Love Fly. That was another question, but we all felt that we handled it the proper way. And now it'll be a little bit of trial and error. We'll just kind of, if we have questions, we'll reach out to Grant. And we'll make sure that we're staying within the law. The thing is that like I said, the Senate did make it a little less harsh, so it's a little more easier for us to still continue to do our work. And as Grant puts it, as long as we don't give everyone an airplane and a puppy, we should be fine. Only a certain group gets the airplane and the puppy, and all the other groups don't. Then we're fine. So we'll just continue to monitor with him and to do as many of the programs as possible and keep going forth. And we can host programs with guests who can say things that we are unable to say. So there's always that option. Friends of the Library had their annual book sale this past week, and the income report is that they made almost $1,700 in 3 days. So they did really well. They were pretty excited when I turned in those numbers today. So they're excited to have a little extra funds. And then just the community update, I'm super excited about this. The Johns County Public Health, we've been speaking with for a while, and with a partnership with them, we're going to be adding a harm reduction vending machine to the library. Coralville is also getting one. Basically, it's completely free to us unless we opt to put other items in. And in our agreement with them, it's basically anything we put in there has to be approved, sort of. So we'll work with them. But one thing I mentioned was adult diapers, and she did. The public health did like that idea. So it does include a list of things that they are including for now in that, and most of them are donated. Some are free, and some will be purchased by other organizations and donated. So we won't be responsible for paying for anything that goes into it. The only thing we're responsible for is the space and maintaining, keeping it full and letting them know if there's any issues. So it'll have the website on it to explain the instructions and resources there. And it'll have some talking points for our staff as well, if we get questions about why we have different things available in the vending machine. So I'm super stoked about it. Does anyone have any questions about that?
Would it go where the kiosk was for the driver's license?
Yes, it's gonna go, well, the bench is there where kids eat snack, and we don't really, but it's small enough. It's only about a little over 2 feet wide, so it'll fit right next to that bench. So the only thing that has, Captain America will be going away, but he's pretty worse for the wear right now. We'll probably have to try to figure out something, because kids still love to stop and see Captain America and talk to him, so. But he will be disappearing soon. And then just the staff reports, summer luncheon fund started today, where they had over 200 kids for lunch this afternoon. And I think our staff is already starting to walk around in a daze. I can tell you that I just did a quick ad of the last 2 weeks, which was 1 week of Iowa City being out and 2 weeks of Tiffin or Clear Creek being out. And we had over 8,000 people in the library in the last 14 days, or trekking through the library for whatever different reasons. Sometimes it feels like there's 8,000 people in there at once. We had the first day of summer, the first Monday, we had 4 staff out at the circulation desk, working pretty nonstop for the first couple of hours of the day. It was pretty crazy.
Is that unusual? Because usually doesn't it take a little while for it to ramp up? In my
I don't
experience
know.
on Wednesdays, it usually takes a little time for it to ramp up after school gets out.
Well, the after-school part, maybe, I don't know, there was Rexters and groups, I think they had
Yeah.
several groups of Rexters and other groups of people in, and so. And already seen, like today, we had a couple of buses parked in the library parking lot. I try to catch them and ask them to park in the back where there is room, usually. I was able to catch them on the way out, also because one took up 2 spots instead of just 1. If it's the long school buses, they take up like 10 spots, and I always go out and make them move. I just ask them kindly to please try not to park there if they can help it. And then I think there's just some great information included in the reports this time around. The diversity audit, they have opted to call it the accessibility audit now, because we can't use the term diversity anymore. I personally am beginning to use the term representation in several spots, and the term democracy in other spots, as you'll see from below. And then the programming has just been going bonkers with the number of kids showing up. I think they said they had 60 kids at something today. I don't even know what it was. I just heard them out of my office talking about it. I really love this, the youth and teen, they went to do an outreach at Liberty High, which they do, and they had 78 kids come and talk to them while they were there. And I absolutely love that the kids are coming over and recognizing them. Some of those kids are kids that used to come in the library when they were younger, and recognized them and came over to say hi, and a couple of them then came into the library, so that's really cool. And we did get the Adventure Pass relaunched. We had a little bit of hiccups the first couple of days, but it has been really busy already, and people asking questions and calling about it. And Nick, thank goodness, Shimon was able to figure out, because Melanie was off right when it relaunched, but Nick was able to figure out how to get on the backside to get things signed up, people signed up if they called. So we were still able to do that.
On the Iowa Adventure Pass, I think there was some confusion, maybe at least in one elementary school, on whether or not the student IDs can be used for things like that, which I don't think they can.
No.
But as like posters are circulating for Johnson County, I was thinking maybe it might be helpful to put like a little FAQ for librarians on the back of those school-based posters, or if there's some way to help make sure that,
Oh, you mean the student ID to check the Adventure Pass out?
yes, because I don't think you can do that. Or can you do that?
I don't
I don't
think
think you can.
so, just because of the way we have the agreement with the school.
Yeah.
It's only really books, but that is a good question.
So I think there was a little bit of confusion on that. It just looked like through the school that my kids are in. And so I was thinking if there was a way to help librarians describe what is and isn't
Okay.
what you can and can't do with that student ID pass, including something like the I Would Venture Pass. That might be a helpful tool for individual school libraries who wouldn't be quite as familiar with some of those programs.
Yeah, because really the card is the only thing they would allow is for us to let them check out books. They wouldn't even allow us to do DVDs.
Yeah, and I don't know if that is clear too. So it prompted me to think that.
Yeah, that's a great idea,
if
or
you're
just
like
some outreach to
some
them.
outreach, or if that poster that I think you talked about a few weeks or months ago, where it's going in all the school districts, if there's a something that goes, an email that goes
letter or
with it, or
something with
letter
it.
or something.
That's a good
would be
idea.
helpful just to clarify those pieces.
Okay, great. Good to know. Yes, I think that's the book bag's been out and about. Nick very hard won, got permission to bring it to the laundromat, and then it was kind of a dud. He was bummed. I think he thought it would be. He'll probably try it again, but it didn't work the first time very well. But the baseball field has been a popular site for it, and kids have been coming up and reading, sitting there and reading and things. So that's been fun. And then the Good Neighbor Book Club, he just mentioned that, and it's tomorrow night, so it's a little crazy, but there is a movie being shown at Keystone Place tomorrow night that people can go to. And he wanted to make sure that invite was extended to you guys if you were interested. And then just the seed packets, which I'm still astonished by. Every time since April, they've given out over 700 seed packets, which I think is just crazy. And then Andrew's lovely statistics.
Has the summer reading program kicked off?
Oh, yes, it kicked off last week, and they had over 300 at the event. So when I had left, it had not kicked off. That was a late kickoff for that. That's usually the end of May, so. And that is all I have, unless you guys have questions.
Hearing no questions, let's all move on to item number 5, the policy review for this month, which is the Internet and Technology Policy.
From our perspective, staff did not really have any input at all or any changes suggested. I did not see anything. So unless you guys have something that you stood out, or if you see any edits, which it always seems like there's some sort of an edit. Jen is usually really good to catch those.
I was going to say, that is not going to be,
It's not my forte.
that's
either,
not
but
my forte.
We have a couple different staff who are pretty good at it, and I did not hear from either one of them that there was any issues. So
My brain fills in the blanks.
And this one was included in the House file review as well?
I have not done
Look,
anything
any
with
of
that
them?
yet.
Okay,
No,
okay.
none of it. I haven't touched those yet, but I don't think
It didn't look
I
like
feel like
that.
there was
I
any
highly
language.
doubt there would. You know what I found is that I've just been starting with ChatGPT and running them through that, and then taking what they give me back and tweaking it to a little bit better. But yeah. And then if you want to move, if we are okay, we can probably might want to go ahead and do something with that one, since the other 3 items are a little bit different.
Yep. Do I have a motion to approve the Internet and Technology Policy?
I move to adopt the policy as set forth in the board packet.
All right. Do I have a second?
A second?
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the policy for this year, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Hearing none in the negative, the policy is approved for the year. Moving on to number 6, looking at some of the revisions given House File 856.
Yeah. So the mission statement is fine as is. Grant agreed that it did not need any changes. The vision statement, however, did have a couple words in it, equity being the main one, that we are not really supposed to be using. So we've changed it. I actually really like this version, maybe even better than the original. I'm okay with that. Again, I'm not super jazzed about having to not use words, but
Can you highlight like the exact changes that were made? I didn't have the side by side.
oh, I didn't include it today. Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry.
There we go. Thank you.
So it's broad access instead of equitable access.
Mm-hmm.
Promote varied perspectives instead of promote diverse thought.
Yes.
And then is this last line then new? As a democratic space, the library supports the free exchange of ideas and ensures that everyone has opportunities to learn, grow, and be heard. Like it.
Were some of the staff that were working on the mission and vision able to give it a look-see, or did we?
Yes, I sent it out to all of them last week and just said, I'm sending this to you to see, not to comment on.
Very good.
I didn't really say that. I just said, I'm sending this out. And then Emily said, I really like this. And I said, oh, good, because
Because it's done.
it was not a democratic process.
I love how this reads.
And then, obviously, the next one, initially I had commitment to access, representation, and welcoming, and I felt like it was really long and clunky. So I just took the word representation out of it because it's it's below. And that one also is really, again, just taking the words, and it's just a word exchange. I really feel the meaning holds for most of it. There was a lot of use of the word inclusion and inclusive in the original. And I apologize that I didn't include it here.
And I didn't have time to find it either.
So, and we can certainly hold off if anybody would rather see the other one. It's down from the website because it had to be taken down, or I showed you there.
That's what I guessed.
The number of hours and money
Yeah.
has gone into words.
Yeah.
So I have one minor thought on this one.
Mm-hmm.
The word library is lowercase in the last bullet point, even though North Liberty Library is capitalized. I know we're not saying North Liberty Library here,
But I do use capital. Yeah, you're right. I can make that change.
well, and I don't. There's library in the first sentence too, with library staff is not capitalized. I mean, it's a minor point. I guess it's not.
So
not a
I think
huge
with the
issue.
library staff, it's okay maybe for it to be lowercase because we're just talking about overall general library staff. I
Yeah.
don't. Well, it is referring to you guys though, and our library staff, so maybe it should be.
Well, I defer to you. I just noted as. So I guess it's in there 3 times as undercase, so maybe that's fine if we're not using the full.
But I we
name.
do that in some of our other documents. We refer to it as the library with a capital L because we're referring to our library like in some of our policies.
Whatever the normal consistent
Okay.
naming practices is, whether it's lowercase or uppercase is fine. I think as long as it's just consistent with whatever you
Okay.
typically do. And then in the title of this, commitment to access and welcoming, does it need like a welcoming all at the end of it?
I don't know. That was Abby's. I had a different word there, and I can't even tell you what it was right now. But Abby who is our equity, our access coordinator,
All good then. It's not.
said, "Would you mind? What do you think about using the word welcoming instead?" So it's a commitment to being welcoming.
I think it's fine. I read a little weird with access, but it's not wrong or not enough of an issue that I think it's worth.
Okay, yeah, and it was a little bit to me too, honestly. So I'm indifferent, but I could change it to welcoming to all.
However, or next time it comes up with staff that you work on it.
Okay.
It's fine to like raise it as
Otherwise,
is it a
being
little clunky
welcoming.
in terms of the wording, but it's not a major issue. Otherwise, I think it looks good.
Okay.
Can we approve these two before the strategic plan since that one has a little bit more?
Mm-hmm.
Are we?
I move to adopt the amended vision statement and amendment commitment to access and welcoming as set forth in the board packets.
I second.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Hearing none in the negative. The vision statement and the board statement of commitment and to access and welcoming is approved with those compliance revisions. Next, the strategic plan.
So in here, I had a question. So this mission is just updating it to the new mission, right? So it's not a change based on, okay, that was,
Correct.
would it make sense to add the
Vision statement?
vision statement as well?
We can do that. I think we could wait because this document's going to be revised and
Oh.
or redone. I don't know how much change it will make, but at the end of this year.
Oh, yeah, just wait then. That makes
Because
sense.
we're at the end of the wild that we have are at the end of the strategic plan. So I'll be starting probably in the next couple of months planning for a new strategic plan development or revision. And we have some new staff, full-time staff, who did not get a chance to be part of the last one. And I already have some ideas. I really like this plan. I think it's really solid, but I think there's some things we could have done differently, and I'm already kind of excited to tackle it again. So that would be my suggestion. Recommendation would be just to wait until we start again, but then we certainly could add the vision to it as because it'll impact it.
Makes sense.
So just for clarification, this is this year's
This is just to get us through the end of the year.
to the changes that you needed to make for.
Yes.
Gotcha. I just wanted to.
So the piece that feels challenging here is like in the goal 1 for social responsibility. I mean, as you noted, you're at the end of this process here. And so you undertook activities previously that are not going to align, that met goals presumably, and you're now creating different benchmarks for evaluating activities that you already did essentially. Does this just create any issues for the library in terms of, I mean, is anyone looking at this and saying there's a disconnect in what you're doing, or is this all just internal and guides us?
It's available online, but I don't think that anyone is saying, "Oh, this is different. Why did you change this to this?"
Okay.
And the main thing is so we don't even have the IDEA committee itself has kind of just disbanded anyway, because they felt like they reached what they wanted to do. And they just kind of they thought that they could reconvene if they ever felt the need to for anything. But right now they haven't even been meeting. So it makes sense for the responsibility to shift to the rest, all of us. And actually, except for number 1, which I don't think we're going to, and number 4, we've run into a lot of hurdles to that because we don't really have a high population here in town. Most of the folks that we would be serving would be in Iowa City. So we've kind of tried to talk about what we might do. That's where Nick Shimon would like to have a little more meat in it because he didn't have a piece in writing this. And then the Change Network, we did not ever join.
Okay.
And that was also someone who is no longer at the library that wanted to do that. So I think, it just stands as is until we make comments on the actual working internal document that I share with you guys quarterly, but this document is just what goes online.
Okay.
So that it's not. And actually, I had left this, and Grant asked me to make those changes on the target group, and because targeting specifically marginalized and oppressed individuals goes completely against what the law says.
Okay. With that in mind, I don't have any issues with it. I just was worried that it was creating potential questions in terms of how someone might evaluate the library's activities, but that all's helpful context. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I was a little bit afraid to even start this because I thought that it was going to be a lot bigger.
I was surprised
Issue for us.
the amount of red ink that was. I had expected more from the strategic plan to get into trouble. will we be invited to participate in the strategic plan again?
Absolutely.
I would encourage everyone here, if they can have the time to pop in, you'll be amazed at how the staff built this thing last time, and I imagine it'll be just as amazing this next time as well.
And I will tell you that the person, Becky, who did this with us, is retiring. And I don't know if she'll be able to do it with us again. I'll have to find out when she's actually officially retiring to see, because I would love to have her back to do it with us. This is one of her strongest suits, doing these. And she did say that this is one of the best that she's ever felt that we've done, that she's done with a library. She really liked it. So, but we'll find someone amazing, regardless. Hopefully, it might be Becky. I should check with her.
All right, are there any more comments or questions about the strategic plan with the edits for the compliance to HRHF 856? All right, do I have a motion to approve these revisions?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Hearing all those ayes in the affirmative, the revisions to the strategic plan are approved. Moving on to item number 7, old business.
Before we move past,
Yes.
this, just in line of the youth accessibility analysis that's at the end here, I think it's really helpful to see all this, but in light of the conversation that we just had, is there any concern related to the tracking of demographic information as opposed to goals in programmatic activity? Like on the back end, are you feeling like it's okay to gather the collection of that information as opposed to structuring programs to address it?
I think so, because this is just what that really is doing is making sure we're representing everyone.
Yep.
So, and that's my little opinion. I did have to change the word because it had diversity instead of representation there, and I made that change and let them know that I made that change and that they needed to make that change. And that really is what it's doing. We might have to take a little bit of look at the actual process that they're using and to see if they need to tweak anything, and that would, again, we need to bring Grant into that. And Grant has been spending a lot of time with us recently. We are his favorites, I know. But I think I might have to step through a little slower. And this isn't published anywhere. It's a completely internal document. So that might make a difference. Because it's really whether we're spending money to do things and of that nature. And this is just a normal part of collection development. So I'd have to chat with him a little bit more, but yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, to be on the evaluation side as opposed to the allocation of programming dollars. I just didn't know how it was being implemented, so that makes sense.
Yeah, we can't spend money and we can't uplift any specific group over another group. Those are the main takes that I get from it. And we can't say words.
Okay. Sorry, Scott. We can now move
No,
on to old
no.
business.
It's good questions. It's good to talk it out.
Item 7, is there any old business? There is none. Item number 8, new business. Does anyone have any new business? There is not. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting this evening?
All motion.
We are adjourned.
Look at that.